Kids have a way of growing up when you're not looking. And for those of us who homeschool, that means that the high school years sometimes approach faster than you expect. So what do you need to do for high school? Can you keep using the Charlotte Mason approach? Will it prepare your students for higher education and, more importantly, for life? The answer is a resounding yes, absolutely. Let's explore how. Welcome to the Simply Charlotte Mason podcast. I'm Sonia Schaefer. Imagine that you're in the midst of a cross-country trip. You've been on the road for several days, and you're head down trying to determine when to leave tomorrow in order to avoid rush hour at the next major city, and which route will work best, where's the best place to stop for lunch, and all of those details that go into a long-distance trek. But then you pause for a moment and consider all the ground that you've already covered. You lift your eyes off the myriad details and take a few minutes to look back at how far you've come and the progress that you've made. That's what I want to invite you to do right now as you're homeschooling. It's easy to get head down focused on all of the details. What courses should my students do this coming year? What are the best books and resources for those courses? What's the timing of how much they should accomplish and when? Not to mention what you're going to do for lunch each day. But I want to encourage you to pause for a moment. Lift your eyes off those details and look at the bigger picture. This is especially important for those of you who are approaching the high school years with your children. The Charlotte Mason practices that you've been using have served you well and brought you a long way. But are they sufficient for the road ahead? Does the Charlotte Mason method work in high school? The answer is yes. The Charlotte Mason method works beautifully in high school and will set your students up for success in life. As you've probably noticed along the road that you've already come, several of the details are designed to shift and grow along with your students as they get older, and that holds true for high school as well. So let's take a few minutes to look at what stays the same and what changes in a Charlotte Mason approach during the high school years. If you've been using Charlotte Mason methods in your homeschool, you've been giving your children a valuable gift. You've been teaching them how to self-educate. And that won't change. The methods that Charlotte Mason used with her students can be boiled down to 6 key tools that we all use when we want to learn about something. And we've talked about these tools before. I'll leave a link to that episode, but let's go through them briefly here. Number 1, we observe. We watch someone else do it, or we look closely and carefully at an object for ourselves in order to see what we can notice. Number 2, we read. If we can't observe something firsthand, we read about it. And the best books for learning make it seem as though we are there observing in person. Number 3, we tell. We go over what we have observed or read, and we put it into our own words. And sometimes we discuss with someone else what we are learning. Number 4, we record what we learned, making note of it in a journal or a notebook, in our own words or sketches and captions, however we want to record it. Number 5, we memorize key points of what we learned, ideas or facts that we want to carry with us through life. And number 6, we create something new with what we learned, whether that's creating a sentence with words in our mother tongue or in a new language, or creating a project with wood, a sketch with charcoal, a story to go with the music, or our own mental math problem. If you've been using Charlotte Mason methods in your homeschool, you've been teaching your students how to use those 6 tools and giving them practice in using them. You've been teaching them to self-educate. You have also been creating an atmosphere in your home that prioritizes and values knowledge. Knowledge of God, of His creation around us, of other people, and of ourselves. You've been working on instilling good habits that build good character. You've been offering a variety of subjects and spreading a feast of ideas that feed your students' hearts and minds. In other words, you've been educating the whole person, not just dumping facts into their brains. You've been encouraging each student to grow in all aspects of personhood. That's what you've been doing if you've been using the Charlotte Mason method. And all of that will stay the same. You will continue to use Charlotte Mason methods and give your students practice in those 6 tools that equip them for self-education. You'll continue working on good habits that will set up your students for success in life. You'll continue to nurture an atmosphere in your home that values knowledge for knowledge's sake. You'll continue to spread a feast of ideas through offering a variety of subjects, because that variety encourages your students to form many relations with God, with His creation, with ourselves, and with others. In other words, the map you've been following to this point on your cross-country journey hasn't let you down. So why toss it aside now? In fact, that map has brought you to a beautiful place. And if you continue to follow it, paying special attention to the little bends in the road as you go ahead, well, it will take you where you want to be. Let's talk about those little bends in the road. What changes are ahead? Your methods will stay the same, those 6 tools for self-education, but you will level them up in a few areas. You'll be giving your students more difficult books to read, still living, but more difficult living books. You've been using narratives and biographies and historical fiction through those younger grades, and that will continue, but you will also add in books that look at the bigger picture across history and some original documents and primary sources. You'll also require your students to do more written narrations. You'll continue to keep an oral narration component going, but you will level up the number of written narrations. And then you will help your students use those narrations as the basis for fine-tuning their writing and turning those written drafts into formal compositions. Now, we'll talk more about how to do these changes and resources that you can use for them in some future episodes. Here, I just want to give you the big picture of where the map is taking you. Your high schoolers will also have more independent work and longer lesson times, which will give them great opportunities to work on their habits of attention and best effort and time management with your help. And that's another important shift to keep in mind as you travel forward. Your role will become more and more that of a coach. You'll work with your students to set goals, to determine what type of work will best help each student reach his or her goals, and to encourage them to stay at it even when the going gets tough. But your focus will be on transitioning the responsibility for success to your students' shoulders. You can lay out the path that they need to take to reach their goals. You can encourage and support them, but they have to do the work. And the sooner your students comprehend that truth, the more they will be prepared for life. Probably one of the biggest changes you will face is having to track your students' work across that wide variety of subjects, to keep grades and create a transcript. It can be a challenge to consider that aspect of things while still keeping the atmosphere of your home focused on knowledge for its own sake. But it is possible, and we'll talk about the details and how to do that in another episode. The main thing to remember, big picture, is that you will continue with the same methods but leveling them up with more difficult books, more written narration, and more independent work. You'll continue with habits, but you'll transition to helping your high school students take the initiative in that area. You'll continue to cultivate an atmosphere that values knowledge for its own sake, and you'll continue to offer a wide variety of subjects and to spread a feast of ideas even as you track your students' work across those subjects. Now, if there's one thing I want you to take from this series, it's that a Charlotte Mason education can and does solidly equip your students for high school and for life beyond high school. It doesn't require some massive shift in how you do school. The beauty of this method is that it is timeless, simple, and wonderfully effective. And it puts the focus where it ought to be, on the whole person. This kind of education is not about stuffing information into your students' heads. The goal is not how much does the student know. This type of education is much broader than that narrow perspective. Charlotte Mason is all about what kind of person your students are becoming. That's true education, the kind that prepares your students for life. And how is it achieved? Through the methods you're using, the habits you're working on, the value you put on knowledge, and the wide variety of subjects that you're offering. And if you continue using that map on your journey, where will you end up? You will give your students an education that solidly equips them to self-educate. They'll have the tools of self-education and know how to use them effectively. You'll help your students cultivate good habits that set them up for success no matter what vocations they pursue. You will shape your students to go out into the world with a spirit that is confident in who they are becoming, a heart that is open to others around them, and a mind that is wide awake for more opportunities to learn. That's the kind of person who will go far in any vocation and lead a full life. So now that you've lifted your head and reminded yourself of the big picture, let's get into some of the details for the road ahead. This is the first in a series about doing high school the Charlotte Mason way. In upcoming episodes, we'll be taking each of those aspects of education and discussing specific questions such as, what does a Charlotte Mason high school curriculum look like? How much independent work should my student be doing, and how long should it take? And how can I coach good time management for my high school student? How can I get high schoolers involved in their own habit training? How do I track grades and create a transcript? And more. I hope you'll join us for this series. And I would love to hear where you are on that journey toward high school. How close are you to it? And what are your feelings and thoughts as you look ahead? Leave a comment and let me know. And remember, you're not traveling the road alone. We are right here, ready to help, encourage, and support. I hope you'll find that this part of the journey is both fulfilling and beautiful. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time when we'll talk about curriculum choices and schedules for high school.